Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide, and in today's episode we are going to be unboxing and checking out the first impressions of the Boox NoteAir 4C. Yep, it's here, and this unit has been kindly sent to me directly by Boox, but I don't get to keep it and I get to send it either to somebody else who is going to review it, or if they choose to donate it to schools or something like that. But either way, that is how I get to retain my own opinion, so Boox has no say over the contents of my videos. And that is made possible only by your support and you guys, so if you do like the work that I do, please like and subscribe to the channel because that helps the visibility, but also do visit the mydeepguide.com/shop where you can find MDO and MMP, both of which are hyperlinked documents, organizer files that help you organize, in the case of MDO, everything year-wise, so yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily organizer for your personal or professional needs, or in the case of MMP, My Deep Guide Meeting Planner. That one satisfies all of your meeting planning needs, and these are really carefully designed, complex hyperlinked PDF files that are basically designed to work perfectly with e-ink and e-note devices such as the NoteAir 4C. So without further ado, let's unbox this one and see what's it about, as it is, for all intents and purposes, an incremental update over the NoteAir 3C. So let's see what the differences are and if there are any. All right, and here is what I got in the package. I got, of course, the NoteAir 4C, which now is just saying Note Series, and of course the Boox NoteAir 4 series cover. Before opening it up, just a very quick kind of summary of what NoteAir 4C is. Well, it's a direct successor of the NoteAir 3C, and so much so that this can be looked as just an incremental improvement depending on what the performance of the screen is and what the overall performance of the device actually is. Because on paper, the only meaningful differences between the NoteAir 4C and the NoteAir 3C are that it has 6 GB of RAM instead of 4 GB of RAM that we had on the 3C, that it runs Android 13 as opposed to Android 12 on the 3C, that it runs out of the box OS 4, which is still not available on the NoteAir 3C, but traditionally we see these things being updated. So right now it doesn't have it, but it's pretty sure that that the NoteAir 3C is also going to be able to run OS 4, but you get OS 4 out of the box immediately here, and it's 10 grams lighter. They say that it's 10 grams lighter than the NoteAir 3C. Everything else is exactly the same and pretty much identical between the two, on the paper at least. What I will want to try in the in-depth review as well is to check if the SoC has changed, because normally the SoC, which is the CPU and the GPU, they are tied with the licensing deal of up to which Android version the system is allowed to be upgraded to, and considering this one is allowed to update up to Android 13, that is an indication to me that the SoC is also improved. Now on paper they don't say that the NoteAir 4C is that the screen is different, but in my communication with Boox I got some information that it does actually have an improved screen, but the same type of screen. What that actually means, I really don't know, and that's something that I'm going to be focusing on during this video, because everything else is going to be largely the same, and the meaningful differences I'll only be able to report to you in the in-depth review once I'm able to do all of the tests. So that's what NoteAir 4C is and its specifications. Even the price is exactly the same as the NoteAir 3C, $499 or $500 US. So yeah, now let's unbox it. And well, it's the same thing. Even the color scheme looks almost identical. We'll see when I compare it to the NoteAir 3C. But I believe that the packaging is also going to be the standard, which means that you'll get supporting documentation, USB-C to A cable, standard Boox pen, and a micro SD card slot tool, which amounts to a fairly standard package that we've come to expect from Boox devices, which means device, pen, appropriate tool. If the device has a micro SD card slot, then a cable and supporting documentation. And now let's check it out. So when we get the device out, it's of course the exact same housing that we've had on the NoteAir 3C. So yeah, exactly the same, beautiful design, excellent manufacturing, and all of the good things that the NoteAir users who have been using it over the years have come to expect. I am noticing something immediately that is different. This is the NoteAir 3C, and you can see that even the color is identical. I mean, this is basically the same housing. However, when my fingers glide over the surface of the NoteAir 3C, it's smooth, paperlish, kind of some paper-like structure, but it's smooth-ish. This, for some reason, it has the same type of structure, but you see my pinky what's doing? There's some stickiness to it. The writing feel on the hand, on the palm when gliding, is the same, and the writing feel, it feels the same when you're writing with the same pen and the nib. And for somebody kind of wondering what is this is my Samsung S6 Lite pen, and I'm using one of the rare now discontinued HP nibs, which I really like. And I think that this is just a case of it being very new, and that stickiness is gonna go away, because already now, as I'm oiling it up with my, finger grease, yeah, there we go. Now it's starting to be more normal. So, okay, so I think the screen surface is the same, because it was just the first impression of some sort. Physically, it's almost impossible to differentiate between the two, other than where the placement and the color of the Boox logo is. So in the NoteAir 3C, we had the orange logo all the way up there, and here they've dulled it down to black and made it smaller, and here in the corner. However, the color roughly looks exactly the same. Whether or not the 10-gram difference is there, in the in-depth review I'll pick up the scale and see, because in my hands I don't feel the difference. And the backs are exactly the same, with this being NoteAir 3C, this being NoteAir 4C. And yeah, it feels the same, it looks the same. Okay, so it is the same, and that's not necessarily a bad thing at all, because as I mentioned previously, I really do love the NoteAir 3C or the NoteAir housing, but it baffles me that there are a couple of things that they are not improving that they could, which is anti-slip pads that are not included, and they keep not including them, and that is something that you definitely need, and it has been an issue with the NoteAir 3 design, or the NoteAir design, since version 1, 2, 2 Plus, 3, 3C, and now 4C. So yeah, it's kind of strange that that part is not improved, but maybe their logic is, that you're gonna keep the device in the flipbook cover, and then of course you don't have that issue. All right, let's do the first power up and see, do we get the OS 4 out of the box, or will I have to do the whole update thing? And also I want to see how the screen is like, and just basic comparisons of images, same document and same images between the NoteAir 4C and NoteAir 3C, so that we can see what kind of performance are we looking at. The onboarding is super quick and smooth, and that's where we can see like incremental improvements from each Boox OS versions, and now on this one, because this is also version 4, but it's updating to the latest version of 4, so I'm gonna let it do that. But I just gotta say that the onboarding experience is now, really, really comfortable and really streamlined, and you get there to be like set up everything very, very quickly. Let's let it update. I'm gonna upload some test documents to it, and then we're just gonna run through comparison between it and the NoteAir 4C, and then I'm gonna quickly wrap it up, because yeah, I mean, if you're interested in any more additional information, more details about the rest of the stuff, not just the differences, you have plenty of videos to actually choose from, especially on mydeepguide, because you have the in-depth review of the NoteAir 3C, and everything is covered there in a thorough way. And considering that the two devices are basically identical, except for the small differences that I'm covering here, yeah, that's a good video to check out while you're waiting for the in-depth review of the NoteAir 4C. While I'm waiting for the update, I opened the cover for the NoteAir 4C, and I can see some differences. The key thing that I love is that you still have the origami vertical portrait stand, which is absolutely awesome to have. And I see that they're not using that strange detachable thing that they've done on Go 10.3, which was really just very, very odd. So this is my old, yeah, this is inside out. Let's flip it back here. So as you can see, that's my old NoteAir 3C cover. This is the NoteAir 4C. They approximately weigh the same. Maybe this is lighter. It will be interesting to weigh it, because in my hands at least, it feels a little bit lighter than this one. But on the outside, they are exactly the same, except this one is all scuffed up. And on the inside, there's a little bit of a difference. Let me just move this guy out of the way so the magnets don't accidentally... Yeah, there's a bit of a difference here in the material, nothing more, and of course the color, because this is like softer, more plushy than it is here. It's also plushy here as well, but the fuzziness aspect of it is just a little bit different as opposed to the color as well. Other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. And while we're waiting, let's see if this magnetic configuration is compatible with the NoteAir 3C, and yes, it is. So it works with the NoteAir 3C, holds it well. Auto wake up, portrait functionality is here. So yeah, the stand works pretty much exactly the same way, because you can have portrait orientation, landscape orientation, and all that kind of stuff. So everything is exactly the same as we had it on the NoteAir 3C as well. And that's a good thing, because this is an excellent cover. And here it is, updated to the latest OS 4 version that it has. And clearly, immediately, you can see all the differences that we've seen previously with tab devices. So on the NoteAir 4C, we now have tab-like OS interface, of home interface, where you have the ability to place additional widgets, such as the library widget and the notes widget, which is extremely handy, because in one place you have access to all of the aspects of the device, and you don't have to navigate between documents, notebooks, storage, or apps, or have the store that you can disable, but you can't get rid of it. And it's been like that for years, even though that store is completely useless. So this instantly feels like a much more it's much more user-friendly, and the user experience is much more improved with this type of interface, simply because the amount of taps that you need to do is minimized. Furthermore, when you swipe to the left, then you have this kind of quick launcher thing, the equivalent of what you had before, right? So if you prefer the quick launcher of the library, notes, storage, store, and settings down here, that's basically what you have here. So you can have the new look and the access to the old look if that's what you're looking for, except that this one is kind of rotated like this. And again, you have the access to the widgets that you can customize and that give you nice shortcuts to these things. And additionally, you also have the search bar here, which is quite helpful. So overall, that's the major difference that you have of the home screen and what the OS 4 actually offers. But there's a lot more differences, and for that, there's going to be a separate video for that. But additionally, like on any Android, you can actually add shortcuts here, and they have shortcuts like, you know, the ones that they have, but you can customize that, and you can add or remove, and you can make it truly your own, and then basically streamline the functionality in a really good way. In addition, there are visual differences that I really do appreciate. One of the things that I really didn't like about the OS 3, I don't know, whichever, 2 versions from whatever it is now, when they introduced the new icons and everything, they just turned everything into squares, and the line thicknesses between the icons were completely inconsistent. What do I mean by that? Well, if you look at the icons here for rotate, split screen, and yeah, all of these, with all of these, you will notice that the outlines are way thicker and way less precise on the OS version, current OS 3 something version, versus how it is on the OS 4 version. It used to be like this on the OS 3 as well, but they made this change where they thickened everything up and just made it look very amateurish, and something that I really, really don't like. I much more prefer the crisp, normal, professional looking rendering of the icons, especially the outlines of the icons, the outlines of the UI elements and everything. It's way more normal looking and professional looking this way, and it's good to see it actually come back on the OS 4 and the NoteAir 4C. And you can see that translate, like, ignore the fonts because I have different fonts set here, but the outlines of the apps, you can see just how much thicker and uglier it looks here, especially like with the icons in there as well. Whereas on the OS 4, it's much more refined and much more modern looking. I mean, this is the casing example. Just look how thick those lines are, and that's just not necessary. There's no need for something like that. So that's the first glance at the cosmetic differences between the OS 4 and the OS 3. In-depth differences in the in-depth review. These are first impressions. All right, so first things first, I'm gonna match the settings on the Neo Reader for checking the documents out. So already I've checked all the general settings, and now I'm setting the speed refresh, or the refresh method and rendering method. So what I'm first going to try out on a combined document with majority text and a little bit of images here and there is what I would normally use, right? So that would be no full refresh, normal full refresh here, no full refresh rate is at naught. Then we have normal, regal, speed mode for scrolling, and that's pretty much it. And then also we are in vivid mode rendering for both of them, right? So the front light is off on both, and those are the settings, right? So that's the primary stuff. Now the secondary stuff, which is also very important, is to make sure that the contrast and all the other stuff is normal, because by default they do this text enhancement, which just adds a lot of fuzziness and just isn't really that nice. I mean, it's good to have it as an option, but in general, it just makes the text way more fuzzier. And just look how different the rendering of the icons is. I mean, look at the progress thing. Anyway. So yes, then we don't want dark color enhancement, we don't want watermark breaching, like everything to 0 except image smoothing. We do want image smoothing because that will eliminate the color banding by introducing dithering. So those are the settings that I have, and they are equal on both of the devices. I'm just going to hide the toolbar here so that we have everything exactly the same. All right, so now I'm just going to flip through pages and exact same document as well, and we're going to see how the devices go through to the same hyperlinks, for example, and what the performance is. To my eyes, the performance is absolutely identical, like completely 1-to-1 ratio between the two. If there is any difference, it's something that's imperceptible, and it's going to be an imperfection due to, me manually touching with 2 fingers. But generally speaking, this is exactly the same type of performance, which is good because NoteAir 3C performs really, really well. So it's good to see that this has not been worsened, but the performance of the screen is pretty much the same. Now, what about the colors themselves? Well, I can see some small differences in, for example, this one. The red is thinner on the NoteAir 4C, and the red is a little bit thicker on the NoteAir 4C. Whether or not that is a difference due to how the rendering methods are in the OS itself, or is it a screen panel difference, I don't know. We will see when we actually go to the full-on color document. But in this example, I think that, yeah, it's virtually identical. There are some tiny differences, as I said, in rendering of the colors, but the text rendering is very, very similar, if not identical. It seems that by default I can't get that there's a thickness level that's here on the NoteAir 3C, very, very mild level of thickness that is a little bit different, but here the text, the small text seems a tiny bit finer than it is here. But it's a very, very small difference, and it's something that you can notice only if you're comparing them directly side by side. For all intents and purposes, yeah, if I was just reading on one and then I started reading on the other, I would not be able to notice that type of difference. That's just pretty much exactly the same. All right, so let's switch to the speed refresh mode. Keep everything else the same. So here we will have a little bit of a degradation of image quality. So here we go. Let's see the performance. Pretty much exactly the same. No. 4C is a tiny bit faster. Or, okay, full refresh. It might be a bit faster than a NoteAir 3C, or it might be the difference in performance of my fingers because it's 2 different hands and everything. But let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Let's eliminate that full screen thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. End up on the same page. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Same performance, same precision, everything is the same. What I do notice, again here in the rendering quality difference, is how the colors are rendered. And you can see that in this mode as well, where on the NoteAir 3C, the color representation is a little bit more faithful, but the quality is kind of grainy. Here, the quality is more palatable, but it's not as accurate of a representation as what the document actually is. And you can see this difference here with this being NoteAir 4C and the same document. So there are some differences in how the screen is handling rendering of colors, and whether or not that is to your liking, that's up to you to know. I wouldn't call it as a quality difference, more as a preference kind of a difference, because it's simply a different type of color representation than what we actually have on the NoteAir 3C. So that's interesting to see, and that leads me to, let's see how the full color document actually is on these 2 devices. All right, so for this document, I'm switching everything up a little bit because I want to see what they are capable of displaying in their best mode. And what I'm going to do as well is going to put my phone underneath here so that we don't get that reflection on the NoteAir 4C, so that you can see the same type of thing. Of course, front light is off, but it's irrelevant in these highly lit conditions here. So we're going to be using Regal refresh mode with deep full refresh mode on deep, and full refresh rate on every single operation made. Furthermore, we are going to be using Now everything is different on both of them. So on both of them, I'm going to be using optimal rendering because Vivid is too strong and it does things that I'm not really a fan of. So I'm just going to go with the optimal. And then in the end, I'm going to get rid of the stuff of everything that they're using and then just use nothing added. So these are the same document. No, we do not want to OCR it. And let's see how they perform ghosting-wise and performance-wise. So in theory, the refresh modes that I've set up here should be the best possible thing that the device is able to do, especially with ghosting and everything. And with the Kaleido Trees panels, even with BSR technology, even with everything, you do get ghosting issues in difficult situations such as this one. And it's really, really noticeable in high contrast switches that we have here. And from what I can see, both rendering of the colors of everything is very similar, and the ghosting performance is also extremely similar between them, maybe a little bit less on the NoteAir 4C. I think, yeah, in this case, for example, it is, but it's never going to be like one-to-one. You're going to have these differences on a same device as well. So overall, rendering quality is great. It's equal among the two of them. It looks really, really good. It's kind of weird for me to look at this document after Remarkable Paper Pro that exposed actually that there's a rainbow here, which of course Kaleido 3 panels they're incapable of doing that. So that was kind of interesting to go back to. But focused on this, yeah, I mean, I think that the rendering of images is very nice on both of them. There's a little bit more openness. I would characterize the image quality as a little bit more openness when compared to the NoteAir 3C, because, for example, you can see in the shadows I get a little bit more details, as if the contrast has been set up to be a little bit less aggressive, and that allows for a little bit more levels. As you can see here, for example, I hope that the camera can catch it, because the differences are small, but they are there. So, but overall, excellent performance. Definitely, I think that consistently we can see a tiny bit less ghosting on the NoteAir 4C for whatever reason, but it is consistent. Definitely there's ghosting still there, but let's go back here. Yeah, definitely a little bit less ghosting on the NoteAir 4C. It's the same type of ghosting, but a little bit less. Image quality wise, same quality. I would definitely characterize it as the same exact quality. The character of the colors is a little bit different and a little bit more open. And now let's set it up so that we turn off all of their filtering stuff. So let's go to custom. And now we're going to turn off all of the stuff and see what the screens are capable of displaying just on their own without any improvements, enhancements, or anything like that. And that's what they look like without any improvement. Either the OS or the screen or the combination of both, it allows for a higher range of details and colors and everything to be displayed on the NoteAir 4C. So yes, while on the paper, it doesn't say that there's a difference, and it's not a major difference, but there is between the screen, the image color rendering, and the way the screen actually represents the colors between these two, and also in the ghosting performance, both of which I would give the favor to a NoteAir 4C, that it is a slight improvement over the image quality and the ghosting performance on the NoteAir 3C. All right, so the writing feel and the performance is pretty much identical as on the NoteAir 3C. And for those wondering, why are you not using the built-in pen? Well, because this is the pen that I am using on a daily basis every single day on the NoteAir 3C and the Go 10.3. So this is a perfect point of reference for me when I'm comparing the writing feel between this device and the other device. So when I'm using a consistent point of reference, which is this pen, this nib, and I compare it to the NoteAir 3Cs, which is a writing feel that I am very, very familiar with, this is basically identical, which is a really good thing because I really, really like the writing feel on the NoteAir 3C. It's very comfortable, giving, and it's a nice compromise and a balance between all of the aspects of writing. Most importantly, it's really, really fast, and I definitely see that writing latency performance here as well. So my personal impression is that the NoteAir 4C writing latency is at the very least exactly the same or on par as the NoteAir 3C, if not maybe a smidge faster. So that's something that, of course, the test will reveal in the in-depth review. But this is the extent of what I will be testing here in the unboxing and the first impressions. I'm not going to go through all of the tools and through all of these things. As I said, those are the things that are covered in other videos, and if you are interested in to understand more details and kind of learn a little bit more about what it is, I do invite you to check out my review of the NoteAir 3C, the in-depth review, because a lot of details can be found there, and then you can say like, oh yeah, but that is using the old OS, this is the new OS. Yes, some differences are going to be there, but the majority of functionality is retained between both of the versions. And I've already discussed about the main cosmetic differences and the user interface and user experience differences between the OS 4 and the OS 3 that we have now. So yeah, of course, more in-depth analysis and testing of the OS version 4 is to come, but as this is just the unboxing and first impressions, those are the most important things that I wanted to kind of cover between the two devices, and I expect everything else to be pretty much on par between them, because NoteAir 4C is an incremental update, and as they say, like an improved tablet. So this is a slightly improved version of the NoteAir 3C, and so far, first impressions confirm that. And for completeness sake, just lastly, let's put the device in its protective cover and see how does it fit in there. Fits nicely, it holds nicely. It's the same package as the one that I'm very much familiar with, as this has been in my carry bag for a very, very long time, except that, yeah, mine has a sticker on it, some scuffs and marks and things like that. But overall, it's the same type of design, and yeah, the most important aspect of it for me was and is this portrait stand orientation, because it lends itself extremely well to use a small portable keyboard or an ergonomic keyboard that goes side to side, and it offers for this really, really good typing, reading, and interactive experience, as it's something that I've used my NoteAir 3C frequently. That's the way I use it in a really, really most of the situations, and it's really good to see that the NoteAir 4C retains that type of flexibility as well. Well, okay, so the NoteAir 4C is as they've advertised it. They said it's an incremental update or an improved version of the NoteAir 3C, and that's basically what it delivers. It delivers a slightly bit more of RAM, maybe 10 grams less, we'll see when I measure it. It delivers new OS, which is granted something that hopefully we will get to see on the NoteAir 3C as well. And it delivers a slightly different quality and character of color rendering overall over the entirety of the device, and as an entire package, especially when you combine it with the with the OS version 4, I think that as a complete experience, if you just put them back to back and you compare them, and you don't have either of them, well, obviously I would go for the NoteAir 4C over the NoteAir 3C because the price is exactly the same and you get a little bit more RAM, more modern US, Android version. Now, if you already have NoteAir 3C, should you even consider upgrading to the NoteAir 4C? Well, I absolutely see no reason why. The only reason that you could possibly conceive is that OS 4.0, but I'm gonna check with Boox. I sincerely hope that they're not gonna artificially block the NoteAir 3C not to receive the OS version 4, because I see zero reason for it. Hardware capabilities, everything is exactly as capable as the NoteAir 4C. So if it happens that the NoteAir 3C doesn't receive the OS version 4, then that is going to be just an artificially introduced block for them to force the users to actually either upgrade or choose the NoteAir 4C. But other than that, on its own, the first impressions of the NoteAir 4C are positive. It's very much what I expected it to be, and considering that it's the same exact price and you just get a little bit more modern of everything, well, it kind of makes sense. The thing that remains to be seen is when I fire up the battery performance test, the overall benchmark performance tests, the writing latency tests, and all of that kind of stuff, to see how does the NoteAir 4C fare. Because if it needs to be an incremental update, then its baseline should be that in no aspects is it worse than the NoteAir 3C, and it should be better, incrementally better in most of the aspects when compared to the NoteAir 3C. So that's my baseline, and those are my expectations. Whether or not NoteAir 4C is able to actually meet them, we'll see in the in-depth review. I hope that you liked the video. If you did, please like and subscribe and ding the notification bell. And of course, visit the mydeepguide.com/shop for MDO or MMP if you want to support the work that I do, or you want some kick-ass good organizers for your eNote devices. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!